What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great day so far. I got a very special guest with me, former Miami Hurricane, current NFL and Major League Baseball agent, Austin Pfenninger. Austin, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on.
Yeah, happy to be on. Excited for this weekend, and always good to talk some Canes football.
Definitely. It's a very special week. We have a top 10 matchup in Death Valley. But before we get into that game, we break it down. What were your overall thoughts so far? I know it's 3 games into the 2020 season, but there was a lot of unknown going into the season offensively, a lot of different coaching changes. So what are your thoughts so far that you've seen from the 2020 Canes?
Yeah, it's exciting to watch. First and foremost, just having football in general is a relief, especially with how we ended the season last year. Any complaints we do have, it's, just nitpicking at that point. I think we have started off even better than I was anticipating. I knew with all the changes that Manny Diaz did address and with the new offensive system, I did have some pretty high hopes that we'd get some immediate changes, but I think it was even better, a better payoff than anticipated, especially in a rivalry game last week, like against FSU, just a beat down from basically the first series onward. Then even the week before versus Louisville, another primetime game, and seeing the offense starting to click, making big plays, and I still think we're leaving a lot of points on the board, even as it is. So that's what has me excited, that we're not even clicking on all cylinders and we're still looking pretty tough so far. And, this is a great matchup coming this week. This is, like Derek King said earlier this week, this is why you come to Miami to play in these type of games. And, when I was on the field the last time, we played, it was 58-0, I think it was my junior season. So excited to see where we're at compared to them now. And, I think we have a lot of talent that, it'll be a competitive game.
Austin, before we get into the Clemson game, was this exact offense what you expected going into the season that Rhett Lashley is running now? He made a quote stating he's going to kind of give what the defense gives him. We've seen a very versatile offense. We've seen a power run-heavy offense first game. We've utilized the tight ends tremendously, after week 1. I mean, we're seeing a lot of different concepts thrown at us. And, he's done a lot of design plays that have been magnificent. It's been 6 every time. We saw against Louisville, just literally manhandled Florida State. So did you really expect this offense to execute this well?
I did have high hopes for Rhett Lashley because I watched some SMU games, previously, and I think they were pretty balanced. He did use the tight end tremendously before. I think the thing that I'm most surprised at is how kind of versatile it has been. Like you said, week 1, power running, and I think it was the most running or rushing yards we've had versus an FBS team in close to 15 years or something. So I think that caught me off guard a little bit. But then just the way he schemes, he'll set up plays to then hit the big play like we saw versus Louisville a couple of times, doing the same look. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Don't try to throw too much out there if, what you're throwing at them is being effective. So I like that, I think we still have a lot in the playbook that he hasn't even unleashed. He saw a few things at the end of like the FSU game. We did a few different motions that we hadn't seen yet. So I think there's probably still a lot up his sleeve that, we just haven't needed to show yet, and we likely will have to versus a team like Clemson. I think the most impressive thing so far has been the offensive line play, just night and day difference from last year. Arguably the weakest point of last season to the strongest, or one of the strongest points so far this year. And Garen Justice and Rhett Lashley are, I think, using the O-line, catering to their strengths, getting the ball out quickly. But that's just a night and day difference. And I still think we have a lot of room to grow compared to where we're at right now.
Regarding room to grow, Austin, and, we've seen tremendous growth in our offensive line, our quarterback position. You mentioned earlier, we're leaving a lot of points on the board. I completely agree. We're dropping a lot of passes with our wide receiver core. I feel like we could have finished a lot more drives. We've given up 80 yards in penalties, for example, which you can't do against Clemson. What adjustments would you like to see going into this game against Clemson.
Yeah, and I think some of the drops in, the timing was to be expected just with the lack of offseason preparation, especially with a new system and new quarterback. Just getting everyone on the same page is not easy. Across the board, just in college football, I think quarterback play and line play have been down. So, it is nice that our quarterback is performing at a high level and our line is performing at a high level, I think, compared to many other schools. I think the wide receiver drops have probably been the biggest issue for the offense so far. Thankfully, we probably have the best tight end tandem in the country. And then I wasn't aware, but Manny had said this week that, Will Mallory has actually been banged up the first couple of weeks as well. So, and he's looked pretty good when he's been in. So getting him back up to full speed, I'm a receiver. I love the 4 and 5 receiver sets, but we got to cater to what our strengths are. And I think we need to keep doing some more 2 tight end sets just because that's one of the strengths of our team. And then I think some of the receivers are probably going to, really have to step up. Someone needs to be a leader in that group. If not, we're going to have to start seeing some of the freshmen play because you can get away with some drops versus, an FSU, how they are this year, and versus UAB. That's not going to work versus Clemson or, if we make it to a ACC title game or one of the New Year's Six Bowls, if we want to be competitive in those games, we're going to have to click on all cylinders, from start to finish.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. I know someone mentioned, there was a discussion on Twitter stating Miami, they need to develop a number 1 wide receiver, or do we need to develop a go-to guy? I think you said it perfectly. Let's have a lot of, 12-man personnel, 2 tight end sets. Let's utilize our tight ends. I think we found our identity. We're a run-heavy offense. We have a great mobile quarterback who makes great decisions. We have our deep ball threat in D. Wiggins. We have our slot receivers in Mike Harley, Mark Pope, our burners. Brevin Jordan is our go-to guy passing the football. So I think that's our identity. How would you assess this wide receiver core moving forward, Austin?
Yeah, I agree. Just making Brevin and then, the tandem between Brevin and Will, the focal point of the offense. I want to see D. Wiggins more involved. I think he's a guy that has a really high ceiling. He's a big play potential at 6'3" and can still take the top off the defense. You don't find that combination too often. I think we have to try a couple deep shots every game, even if we're forcing it, because he's got that ability to make the big play. Harley and Pope are the 2 guys that, again, tremendous athletes, and they can make the big play happen, but they just need to get more consistent, work on separation, look the ball in, and then anything else after that's icing on the cake. So I think really getting them some confidence early, throwing them some bubbles, some slants, easy passes, get the big game mentality out of their head. It's just another game. Build up the confidence level, but really feed the offense through Will Mallory and Brevin Jordan, and then stick with the power running game. And I'd like to see some more zone reads. King didn't keep the ball too many times the first few games. I think they're trying to limit how many hits he was taking, especially versus like a UAB. I think there were a lot of times he could have pulled the ball, but just handed it off. Looking like there could be some pretty poor weather conditions this weekend, depending on, with that hurricane. We got 2 hurricanes coming through, but King's going to have to probably rely on his legs a lot more this week if it is a rainy game, and I think that's something where he definitely excels at, and we'll likely see a lot more of this weekend. If conditions are poor.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I'm actually going to be going to the game, so I told one of my coworkers, I was like, I might be on ESPN the whole time because I'm not moving from my seat if there's a monsoon going on there. I'm literally going to be watching the whole game. But I hope it doesn't rain because I feel like it really will affect the outcome of the game for both teams. I just want a clean game and see, how good we are as a program against Clemson.
Exactly. And I want them at their best, and I want us to be at our best. And, that's a true, barometer of where are we at today versus, a year ago, a couple years ago when we played them. I think if it is a rainy game, I think that sways it in our favor a little bit. But again, I'd rather us face them at their best and see where we really are. I think we can give them a game no matter what. And, I think we do match up well in certain areas. I think we're deficient in a couple other areas, but, we should give them our best.
So, Austin, You mentioned earlier the 58-0 blowout in, I think, the Al Golden game that got him fired. I was at the game in the stands. It was dreadful. From the pregame, the tailgate to halftime to the end. 2017 ACC title game, we lost 38 or 31-3. Basically, they've outscored us like 90-3 the last two matchups.
Right.
What makes this game different, Austin, that you're confident Miami is a shot in?
We got a really dynamic quarterback. I think that's, strong running and throwing. That 58-0 game, Brad got knocked out in the first series. We still lose that game no matter what, but I think at least we could have put something on the board. I feel like this team is not as filled with individuals like we've had in years past. I think it's much more cohesive. I think everyone's bought into what Manny Diaz is preaching. I think we've filled a lot of necessary gaps, in the program and across the board. I think our frontline talent, just as for the starters, is as good as anybody or just right up there. I think this weekend is a big test of, where's our depth at compared, because that's where we've really been lacking in the past at a lot of positions. Once some of those frontline guys come out, there's a huge drop off. I think one position group that's really impressing me in that aspect has been the D line, especially the D tackles that, even the second and third string guys are making a ton of plays coming in, and that's what we've really been missing in the past. Same with safety. We got a couple guys rotating in, doing well, and, they're going to have a big game also. So I think that's the biggest test for this weekend is, when the first string guys had to come out, get a break, want some fresh guys in, do we have a drop off or do we not skip a beat?
Right. No, absolutely. I completely agree. You made a great point. Jared Harrison-Hunt is really a silver lining with our defensive tackles. He's a redshirt freshman, 2 sacks already. Nesta Silvera, this is the best shape. Best performance he's had so far as a Miami Hurricane in his career. It really is nice to see. He highly touted recruit from American Heritage Plantation. It's finally paying off. So I am really impressed with our defensive tackles and our D-line in general. What are your thoughts on Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips?
They're explosive. And, I had heard kind of the rumblings about Jalen the last year. And obviously when you lose an early first-round talent like Rousseau, it's never a good thing. And we wish we still had him there just to make that rotation even stronger. But I think Phillips is hungry, being out of football for a little while. He's great motor, great frame. He's been getting after the quarterback a lot. It might not always show up in the stat sheet, but he's been very disruptive. And I think Roche's been tremendous also, has great bend, great athlete. I think with him, needs to get a little bit stronger, setting the edge and not, losing that on some run plays. But, we're going to have to win with a 4-man rush, I think, this weekend. I think that's going to be the key to this game is Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the country, especially against the blitz. Looking at some stats recently, how high of a percentage he has when he is blitzed, and he's got that brain where he knows where to attack, when he sees a linebacker coming. So I think a key is going to have to be getting pressure with our front four and being able to have the linebackers play a little bit more zone and sit back. If we can't get after the quarterback without blitzing, it might be a long day for us.
What other matchups? I know you mentioned, our D-line battle of the trenches to Trevor Lawrence is going to be key. What are the matchups to look out for this primetime matchup Saturday night?
Yeah, I think DJ Ivey has a really big game ahead of him. And, I was a little disappointed week 1. The 2 big plays he gave up, he was perfect position. So, you want to see that. It's just, having the confidence, turning your head, making the play on the ball. And he's really tightened things up the last 2 weeks. And that's kind of how he was last year also. I think he started shaky and improved as the season went on. And cornerback, when you're on an island like that, I think confidence is a huge thing. And, if you're playing – confident, playing fast, then you're going to have some success. And I think just being physical with the receivers that they have, making it a tougher throw for Lawrence to make. So I think that's a big matchup coming up. Our linebackers, I think, Zach McLeod has improved every week as well. I think he's starting to come into his own, but I would say just the linebacking core as a general is probably one of the weaker points on our team. Travis Etienne's one of the best running backs in the country. So we're going to have to, get our best game from the linebacking core to stop him. If we can force you always stop one part of their offense, and that really bode well for us. So I think those are two of our critical matchups. Obviously, if we can get help from our receivers, that's going to be huge for us. Brent Venables has given up a lot of yards to tight ends in the past, and some of their close games or games they've lost over the last handful of years. So I think that's something that we really need to exploit, and are going to take advantage of them, in that aspect.
Austin, you were a former college wide receiver, University of Miami. Clemson's wide receiver core, they lost a lot of good players. Justin Ross was out for the season. T. Higgins as well, went through the draft.
Yep.
How would you assess the wide receiver core? Amari Rogers, to me, he reminds me a lot of Kadarius Toney, but more physical. I don't know if you remember Sam Bruce, but he has that Sam Bruce frame, in the sense the way he runs, his style of play. How would you assess kind of Amari Rogers and just in general their wide receiver core?
Yeah, he's tough. I mean, I think he's been picking up some of the slack for them. And like you said, that was one of their big question marks coming into this season is, who's Trevor Lawrence going to be able to throw it to? Clemson in general, they recruit at a high level. And, I know they got some other guys back there that were highly recruited and, probably just need some reps to come into their own as well. But I think overall it's kind of an unproven group. And I think our safety play has been very good. Cornerback play, Al Blaze has been lights out, and Ivy's coming into his own. I think we should be able to have a pretty good matchup with them. It's just, being consistent every play, not having mental lapses. But yeah, I do like Rodgers a lot. I think he's a guy that we really need to key in on. And if it's having extra safety help over top or, putting a linebacker out to try to high-low, certain things like that to make his job harder because he is probably their best receiver and very explosive guy. So, we got to get our hands on him, be physical with him because with those explosive guys, if you don't disrupt the route, then, you don't want to give him a free release to get downfield deep.
Yeah, no, I mean, Amari Rogers, very special talent at wide receiver. He's basically their slot guy, and then they'll put their two taller receivers out in the boundary with Frank Latson out of South Dade Senior High School, a product of Miami, Florida. Actually, a teammate of DJ Ivy as well. And I believe they have a true freshman. I believe his name is EJ Williams, 5-star recruit. So he'll be going against our cornerback position group moving forward. Travis Etienne actually put up more receiving yards than rushing yards against UVA. Seems to make the first and second man miss every time. What makes him so special, Austin?
Can you repeat the end part? Sorry.
Yeah. What makes Travis Etienne so special?
Yeah, I think he can do it all. He's not a guy that you really need to take out on any plays, and unless he's just tired. But I think he can pass pro. He's, like you said, he's making guys miss. He can run through the arm tackles. I think he's got great cutback ability. And that's something that has been a detriment to our defense the last couple of years is, not being completely disciplined in our lanes or staying home. And then, having the guy kind of bottled up, but then he makes the cutback and breaks a long run. You saw that early on versus UAB. We're starting to get gashed a little bit early before we tighten things up and kind of improved on that. But, Louisville had a couple of runs on us that should have made the tackles and didn't. Tackling in space is going to be key this week. Not letting them make too many guys miss. I think we need to be physical with him, even if he's pass blocking, make him feel it. Anytime that he's going out for a catch, try to be disruptive, have multiple guys hitting him, make his job as hard as possible, because if you can shut him down, then, I think it's going to be, tilt in our favor just compared to, our secondary guys that we have. I do like that matchup for us. So ETN is the one guy that I'm probably a little bit more scared of versus the receivers or Trevor Lawrence, just because I think he's a guy that can really do it all.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Travis Etienne, man, probably one of the best college running backs, in the game, stats wise, he's just definitely in the ACC, one of the greats. He's going to be a great NFL player. Trevor Lawrence as a runner as well in the red zone goal line situations, third and short. He makes me nervous. He's 6'6", 240. Very special talent. Austin,
Look at the Ohio State game in the playoffs last year. He had a huge run, and yeah, he's a tall, lanky white guy, but I mean he can move. So he's another guy that we got to be mindful of that, and because he can take off, and I think that's another part why we got to get after him early to try to discourage that a little bit. But sorry, go ahead.
What makes Trevor Lawrence, I mean, just so special? The guy, I feel like he's the perfect quarterback for the NFL.
Yeah.
Every team, I feel like that's the first man on their board. I mean, he's the franchise quarterback. I mean, even his hair is amazing. I mean, this guy is from I don't know if he's the son of Zeus or something, but what makes Trevor Lawrence such a great quarterback?
Yeah, he's really, not deficient in any one category, in my opinion. I think his brain is, his biggest trait that he has is I think he sees the field well. He's a guy who was a prodigy since a young age and has lived up to that billing. I think he's calm under pressure. He distributes the ball well across the board. He's got a very strong arm, but I think he can really thread the needle and has elite accuracy. And like we touched on just a bit ago, I mean, he is a guy, he's not classified as a dual threat, but he can take off and beat you with his legs if he has to. And I think he just does good things with the ball and doesn't really make too many mistakes. So I don't think that, we're not going to force him to make too many mistakes. We're going to have to bottle up their receivers and make it tight throws. We're going to have to sack him and get after him quickly, because he's not a guy who's going to make very many errant passes. It's, we're going to have to be the ones making a great play on the ball, or not give him any time to move. I think he's got really good footwork as well and can avoid rush. So, getting in disruptive, getting in his face and hitting home on some of those plays, especially early, and really setting the tone.
Man, I'm telling you, whoever drafts Trevor Lawrence, if it's the New England Patriots again, I think it's going to be a very interesting NFL year, the next couple seasons for the Patriots, man. Cam Newton, Trevor Lawrence as kind of the learning intern role to take over from Cam Newton. I mean, they'll probably win the Super Bowl 3 out of the next 5 years with those two guys as their quarterbacks. I'm not even a Patriots fan. I'm just respecting what I see. But Austin, man, one matchup I'm really excited about. The best defensive coordinator in college football going up against the up-and-coming. And according to Gus Malzahn, maybe there's some bias because he was his head coach in high school, Rhett Lashley. What kind of offense are you expecting going into this big game? Because Brett Venables, man, I mean, this is the best of the best, man. He can get a head coaching job at any Power 5 school if he wanted to. He just doesn't want to.
Right. Yeah, he's got a good thing going for him. And but I've been really impressed with Lashley so far. I mean, he seems like a player's coach. He, I think, utilizes the personnel that he has very well, and I think that's what the great coaches do. They don't try to force the round peg into the square hole type of thing. It's all right, this is what I have, and this is how I make the most of it. And I think he's done a very good job of that so far. We had mentioned earlier that Venables has been kind of susceptible to the tight end play in his career. I think that's really we're going to key in on that. Force them to cover up the middle and then take our deep shots with D Wiggins deep. Once they're kind of focused on the middle, I think Derek King's going to have to be a factor with his legs, not be afraid to run the ball. I think we're going to pull out all the stops in this game. I think we're going to see more motion, some more jet sweep type of action, some more different type of options, just because, again, this is the best team that's going to be on the schedule that we'll face the entire year. I think we have held back a lot so far. I think we've kept it generally vanilla a little bit. I think each week we've opened up a little bit more, but like you've seen him a couple of times, he'll just keep giving the same look if he thinks he can exploit that. And he hasn't really had to show too many different things because the talent gap that we have had has, been on another level compared to the teams we've faced so far. So that's going to be neutralized a little bit. It's now, who's got it up here, I think, between those two. And, I really like what I've seen from Lashley so far. And I think we do have great athletes that can match up against them now.
Any flaws that Clemson has shown the past 3 games where you think Miami has the edge and we really need to capitalize on that?
I wouldn't say their O-line is bad by any means, but I think they're inexperienced. And I think if we can give them some different looks, some stunts, mix up the pressure a little bit, I think we can give them some fits, definitely. Again, I mean, it's a team. I don't think they have a lot of flaws, but I don't think they've come out real hot out of the gate in some of these games. I don't think they've really had that killer mindset either. And again, maybe they've kept it vanilla too because of the level of opponents they've been playing first couple of weeks. I think we've played some tougher teams and some tougher defenses than they have up to this point. I think we've been tested a little bit more, and I think we've obviously more than held our own. So it's, who has, I think, more up their sleeve is going to be a big key to this game. But I think, just the D-line play is going to be huge for us. And then De'Ara King, I don't know if, their linebackers are going to be able to, one, respect our tight end play as well as the threat of running from De'Ara King. That's a tough, you shut down one, but you're not going to be able to shut down the other. It's kind of pick your poison. So I think that's something that we really need to take advantage of.
No, I completely agree. I mean, they've never faced a high tempo offense like Rhett Lashley's offense. Maybe UNC with Philip Longo, if I'm trying to compare another ACC team.
I just think Louisville, a couple years back when they had Lamar, definitely had a good game against them. And I think that could be a similar type of matchup that we see this weekend.
So I'm curious about that game. And, another thing, I'm very big into like the mental perspective going into a game. Manny Diaz said it best. This is just a regular game for Clemson. Like it's another top 10 matchup against a team that needs to earn respect. They've already played the national title games year in and year out. They've been to the college football playoffs games. Trevor Lawrence, he's used to the primetime Saturday night games. So they may not get up for this game in Death Valley. 19,000 people there. It's not going to be a sold-out Saturday night game. They may come out flat. In Miami, they have the juice right now. They're trying to prove the whole world. It's us against the world. Everybody and their mom is doubting us right now. We need to prove them wrong. So we'll look out for that.
Yeah. Like this past week, or I guess 2 weeks ago since we had the bye, but we came out, I assumed a pretty decent sized win versus FSU. I didn't assume was it 52-10. I think we just set the tone early and got them off guard, and then they started imploding on themselves. Now, I don't think this Clemson team, how they're coached and, the culture they have, they're not a team that's going to, self-destruct on their own sidelines like you saw with FSU, but they're not used to playing behind or really having except for the playoffs, really having a team give them fits. So if we do that early on, I think that'll bode well for our confidence just to show we can play with them. And, playing from behind is never an easy thing to do, no matter who's your quarterback. So I think we got to really come out early, hit the ground running, and can't come out flat versus a team like Clemson.
Austin, you were a former Miami Hurricane. You were part of the highs and lows of the program. You saw the Al Golden era. You were part of James Coley's offense. You saw Mark Richt take over. You won the Russell Athletic Bowl game against West Virginia. First time we won a bowl game in quite a while over a top 25 team. I think we finished in the top 25 as well. How important of a game is this Saturday night primetime for this program?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this question earlier to myself, and this wasn't a scripted question or anything, but I was trying to look back how long, and obviously I think the last time we played against them was a very important part for our program, and we faltered. In my opinion, I think this might be the biggest game since the 02 championship that we've been in, because this could really define the next couple of years of our program. I liked the Manny Diaz hire. Obviously, year one didn't work. How important were all the changes that he did make? What's the trajectory of our program? Is this just another hot start like we saw with Coach Rick in 2017 and then, faltered at the very end? Or is this team for real? I think this has a lot of big recruiting implications for us. Having 3 straight college game days, being in prime time. I mean, the world's going to be watching this matchup. So in my opinion, I think this is probably the biggest game in 18 years for our program.
Wow. God, man. I can't wait. Like
pressure on, but I think that's the reality of the situation.
Man, college game day will be there. By the way, guys, if you don't know about Clemson, South Carolina, it's like literally a small town, and then game day, 60,000 people are in the town or more. So I can't wait. I'm going to be driving. I'm waking up at 6 a.m., driving down 4 hours away. I live from there. And, man, I cannot wait. I'm ecstatic. I really hope it's not a monsoon rain that people are stating, because that would just suck. But if it is, you got to get the job done. No doubt about it. And at least we have good running backs. We have a three-headed monster.
Yeah, Cam has been tremendous this year. I think just from a pure running perspective, I think he's right at the top in the country. I think he's got a huge ceiling. I think he's been pretty solid in pass pro too. Like to see him involved in the receiving game a little more, but we've seen Jalen Knighton really handle that part as well, and Don Chaney's made some great runs. So it's nice, even though those guys are young, they've hit the ground running, and we haven't really missed too much of a beat when we have rotated backs in.
Austin, as an NFL agent, you evaluate talent all the time. You were a part of great college football teams at Miami. How good is this 2020 team you've seen compared to other teams in the past?
Yeah, and in a program like Miami, there's always going to be NFL talent no matter what. But what I'm really excited about is just how much high-level talent there is now. And, a lot of it is transfer guys that have come in, and I think we've definitely used that to our advantage. But, I think we have multiple guys who could end up in the first round when it's all said and done, if some of them, continue on their trajectory. And I think we have a handful of guys who could maybe get in that day 2 range. So it's getting back to closer to where it was. I still think we need more depth. I think we need some more, again, just as each year kind of progresses, we need to really be senior talented. And I think our juniors are probably the strongest suit of this team right now. But I like the direction we're going in. I think we still need to keep poaching guys from the transfer portal whenever we do have some holes, because you see some of these guys are ready and need a new system to play in, and they can take off like that. But it's exciting. We haven't had this level of talent in quite a while, I think, just across the board, especially on the front line. And then we're starting to see it on the second and third line now, guys.
Right.
That could be early round guys in 2-3 years from now that are already flashing as, true freshmen or redshirt freshmen or true sophomores. So that's really exciting and encouraging also.
Yeah, no, I just want to see development. Players get better every single year, and I think we're seeing that. So that's definitely great. And to build depth, like you said, our offensive line, we only had a first team. We didn't have a second team. So we're developing that at different positions slowly but surely, Austin. So that is definitely good to see. Austin, as an NFL agent, how do you watch this game compared to a regular fan? Are you evaluating certain players? Like, for example, like Trevor Lawrence's, the Travis Etienne's, like you're working your way in the business, and you will get there, obviously. But Drew Rosenhaus, I mean, he's the Yankees of sports agencies. I mean, he's got the first of the litter. So how do you evaluate these games?
Yeah, and I think some of these games I'll record or get a copy of it and watch live as a fan first and foremost, and then the next day or two go back and really kind of analyze the guys that I'm trying to recruit and really watch it from more of an X's and O's perspective and from a scouting perspective. Like you said, I mean, it's early on in my career, and there's definitely a lot of established guys at the top, and you kind of had to know where your place is. Success doesn't come overnight, and you got to build it up slowly but surely. And, I think I've done a good job laying the groundwork and, working with what I do have within the confines of this industry, and, each kind of day getting a little bit better, and each year making a progression from the last year. But it is, like we were just touching on, it's exciting that Miami's getting a lot more talent across the board. I don't think any one agent's going to be able to scoop up every player. So I think that the more, legitimate NFL talent and talent that can stick in the league that there is, I bet the more bodes well for any other agent, because there's more players to, try to compete for. And, I love competition. That's why I went to the U, and that's why I got in this industry I'm in now, because it's something that I kind of thrive off of and crave, and, trying to prove yourself against someone else. So, really passionate about what I do. And, when I can combine that with an alma mater that I'm, also truly love, then, it's exciting.
Yeah. And this is your own company as well, which is pretty cool,
Yeah. So. And I kind of wanted to take the risk and, live and die almost by, my own decisions and work ethic, and be able to sleep at night knowing I'm approaching it the right way. And even if it takes a little bit longer and having to fight against the establishment, I think for me that's worth it, and will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I mean, Major League Baseball, University of Miami, 4 national titles. I mean, they're a dynasty in baseball as well. So, hey, you got that University of Miami's diploma. So you got a lot of resources. Austin, what is your score prediction Saturday night? Miami Hurricanes take on the Clemson Tigers, primetime television.
Yeah, put the pressure on me, man. I'm going to take us 35-28. I think it's going to be a close one. I can see it going either way, but I can't bet against the Kings. So, that's going to be my prediction.
I love it. If it's a nice night, it's not raining, I think it's going to be an offensive shootout, Big 12 style, first to 48.
Yeah,
Miami winning 48.
I would love that even more, man. The more points, the better for me.
Yeah, man. I'm curious how good of Rhett Lashley's offense is going to match up with Brett Venables. I think he'll do a great job, and I think that up-tempo play and De'Ara King and his veteran presence, not making dumb decisions, which we've seen the past 3 games, I think that's really going to take us over the top. Defense, I think our cornerback play is going to be it's going to be a little suspect against Amari Rodgers, Travis Etienne. We got to finish tackles, and that's been an issue.
Right. No, I agree completely. I think that's going to be a huge key to the game. And, King has missed some throws, but he's done a really good job protecting the football. I think that's the most important thing. And some of those, deep balls that you miss long or short, that's just a timing thing mostly. He's got the arm strength. I think he's got good enough accuracy. It's just, each week that they go in and they're working more reps, I think they're going to really tighten things up. And hopefully this is the week that it happens.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. If Miami beats Clemson, wow. I mean, what a 180. Manny Diaz losing to Louisiana Tech, FIU, and we just beat the runner-ups last year for the national title game. Austin, thank you so much for coming on, man. You always do a wonderful job, extremely knowledgeable, and the future is very bright for your sports agency, man. So congratulations on that, and keep working hard.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Anytime. I love talking Canes football, and looking forward to this weekend.
All right, Austin. Have a great day, man, and many blessings.
Thank you as well.
All right, everyone. Austin Pfenninger, NFL and Major League Baseball agent. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a great night.